Good morning, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. We're going to jump right into today's episode, get you caught up on the latest news. Let's go.
Brace yourself for the ultimate Carolina Panthers experience. Welcome to Two Growls, One Roar, the podcast that hits harder than a Luke Kuechly tackle. We're diving deep into the heart of Panther Nation, bringing you unrivaled passion, insider takes, and pure gridiron fire. From Wilmington to the cosmos, this is your home for the fiercest football talk east or west of Charlotte.
Welcome in, folks, to another edition of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. Today, breaking down the trade deadline, which was a nothing burger for the Carolina Panthers. We're going to talk about their playoff odds according to ESPN Analytics, slowly trending up, and do a small preview of the Panthers and the Saints. Don't worry, we're going to have our full breakdown later this week like we always do. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. A few updates around the trade deadline. Roster update. So although the Carolina Panthers, and I can't spell, were not active at the trade deadline, we got a few roster updates for you. We'll discuss those, talk about their playoff odds, and like I said, preview the Panthers and the Saints. Let's talk about it. Carolina Panthers staying put, not making any moves at the trade deadline, relatively quiet. And I think if you analyze this, for me at least, when you think about the Carolina Panthers and their decision not to do anything at the trade deadline, it kind of aligns with the vision for this team. I do think the Carolina Panthers are a little bit ahead of schedule from where they would like to be. You kind of think about this, and I don't want to call it a 6-year plan because I'm not going to compare it to Matt Rule and what he was saying was 7 years. But you have this contract, pretty large contract, linked with Dave Canales, Dan Morgan, building through the draft, focusing on the offensive line, then the defense, now starting to plug away at some holes next year through free agency and the draft. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule. And so you kind of analyze what has worked well so far. And honestly, it hasn't been perfect, but the draft went well. The free agents that you picked up went well. And I think the nice thing is the Carolina Panthers are actually starting to build a culture. And so you're going to have guys that want to come to play in Carolina. And if you continue to do what you did in the draft, find guys all through the draft that can contribute on day one. It makes sense why the Carolina Panthers decided for now to hold on to their draft capital, use that, and then figure out, next year we'll pick up a few free agents. As we mentioned, although the Carolina Panthers did not make any trades, they did make a few updates to their roster. So the Carolina Panthers signed running back DeeJay Dallas, safety Israel Mukuamu, and Ja'Tyre Carter to the practice squad. Now, Ja'Tyre Carter was signed as a practice squad exemption, so he spent the entirety of his 2024 season on the Panthers practice, was waived with an injury designation during final roster cuts in August. So we know previously Carolina Panthers signed Mike White. They got the outside linebacker from San Francisco who actually played a little bit this past week. And so I think the Carolina Panthers just shaping up the roster as it is today. This is pretty normal. Tuesday is the transaction day for the Carolina Panthers over the course of the season, where we've seen them come in, make a few moves, make a few roster tweaks, practice squad call-ups, all those things for them. So pretty normal business. Now let's talk about some fun, or potentially some fun, and that is the Carolina Panthers playoff odds according to ESPN Analytics. So I track this every week. Carolina Panthers up and down, starting to move in the direction of being up. There was a time where the Falcons were favored, the Cowboys were favored over them, but honestly, it's kind of getting mellowed out and closer to what we would expect. Now you have the Chicago Bears right in front of them with odds at 33% to make the playoffs, 9% chance to win their division. 1% chance to get to the NFC Championship, and 2% chance to get to the Super Bowl. Isn't that wild? They have better, speaking of the Bears, better odds to get to the Super Bowl than to win or to get to the NFC Championship. So, anyways, looking at the Panthers right now, 28% chance to make the playoffs according to ESPN Analytics. You can see a lot of teams in front of them. They have a 12% chance to win the division. And I think this is something that we're going to have to talk about. Carolina Panthers possibly needing to win the division to have a chance to get into the playoffs. And I say that because I think when Panthers fans, we haven't touched the playoffs in so long that we forget how close some of these playoff races are for that number 7 seed. You would think, hey, you get a 9-win season, should be good. But you look at a team like the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC last year, not making the playoffs at 9-8. You look at the 10-7 Seattle Seahawks last year, who did not make the playoffs as well. So we've got that in front of us. And I think when you look at the NFC West, we can hope that the NFC West crumbles and falls apart, and maybe they beat each other up and you get a few more losses in there. We know the Carolina Panthers still have to go against them. So there's a chance for the Panthers to pick up a few wins, possibly, or at least a couple, we would hope, as we go through this. But I was looking at some data last night provided by the NFL as it relates to the NFC West. Pretty notable here. So 6-win teams. There are 3 teams. The Rams are 6-2. San Francisco 6-3. Seattle is 6-2. So of course, all of them have 6 wins. This is the 6th time since 2002 that the division has had 3 teams with at least 6 wins through the first 9 weeks of the season. Previous occurrence, NFC North last year, the AFC East in 22, and the NFC East during 22 as well. And then in 2016, AFC West. In 2011, the AFC North. So as much optimism as there is and hope and excitement, the Carolina Panthers have to control their own destiny through the NFC South. That's just my opinion. You can't leave it up to chance. And technically, you're not leaving it up to chance in a way because you're going against the NFC West. So you have a chance to pick up head-to-head tiebreakers. So if you have the same record, that's going to be an important mark. So you have a chance to sort this out from your side. But I would put it in my control. Again, looking against the Saints, I'm not ready to go ahead and say, yes, it's going to be a cakewalk. Same thing with the Falcons. But getting to 7-4, putting yourself in a position to start going through what we'll call that NFC West gauntlet is something that I'm keeping in the back of my mind. Now let's get into a way too early preview for, and it may be harder for you guys to see it, so I'm gonna read it off to the side, make it a little bit easier for me to see. So Week 10 matchup, we are here, folks. New Orleans Saints traveling to town. Terrible football team by all standards, but Tyler Shuck coming in, and you look at his name, you think it'd be Shaw, but it is Shuck. Confirmed the European pronunciation of that. Carolina Panthers, though, at 5-4. New Orleans Saints at 1-8. Carolina Panthers open is a 5.5-point favorite. I think that's probably going to stay pretty close to what we'd expect. Now, full preview coming out later, as always. Same ebb and flow. Hopefully you like it. If not, I don't know what to tell you. We'll change some stuff up next year, but we're keeping our rhythm the same. But taking a look at some notes from the NFL leading into this game. So Bryce Young is aiming for his 3rd game in a row at home with 2+ passing touchdowns. He has a 90+ passer rating in 2 of his 3 home games this season. Had 171 passing yards and touchdown in the last meeting against the Saints back in November of last year. We know about that win. That was part of the Bryce Young coming back to life tour last season once he came back from being benched. Rico Dowdle rushed for 130 yards on 25 carries, 2 touchdowns last week. His 3rd game with 130+ rushing yards and 25, and the only player to do so this season He had 2 receptions in 4 of his past 5 games, and he leads the NFL with 103 carries, 652 rushing yards since week 5. So, no doubt, if he had remained or actually started as RB1, if he had gotten the carries, I think he'd be leading the NFL in rushing. That's just how good he has been. He is officially listed as RB1 on the depth chart. Chuba Hubbard has a rushing touchdown in 2 of his last 3 games at home. He had 72 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns in the last meeting against the Saints, dating back to last year, almost officially a year ago, actually over a year. Tedro McMillan led the team with 4 catches, 46 yards in the Week 9 matchup. He ranks second among rookies in receiving yards with 512, tied for second in receptions with 37. He has 6+ receptions in 2 of his past 3 games at home. He's second in the NFL in receiving yards, 558 and 41 receptions among rookies. So, of course, Ibuka leads the way there, but really good production out of Tedro McMillan for the rookie class. Christian Roseboom led the team with a career high. I called it. If you listen to the breakdown, I said this has to be a career high day for Roseboom, and sure enough, it was. Career high, 15 tackles. He had a tackle for loss, forced fumble last week. Very important forced fumble. Only player in the NFL to do so in 25. How about that? He aims for his 5th game in a row with 6+ tackles and 3rd in a row with a tackle for loss. No doubt him not having to call the defense has made a big difference. How about the breakout of Tershawn Turk Wharton, who had 7 tackles and a sack last week? We hope to see that continue to come alive. Linebacker Trevin Wallace had 9 tackles and a pass defended. He has 6 tackles in 3 of his past 4 games. He had 5 tackles and a tackle for loss in the last matchup against the Saints. Nick Scorton has half a sack in 2 of his past 3. He's tied for second in the league among rookies in sacks. That is wild. This is coming from. I want to fact check that. This is coming directly from the NFL game notes, but anyways, J.C. Horn had 4 tackles and a pass defended last week. He has a pass defended in 2 of his past 3 games. Nick Scott had the fumble recovery last week. He also had a pass defended in the last meeting against the Saints. He has 7+ tackles in 2 of his past 3 games. Trayvon Merrick had 5 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 passes defended, and an interception last week. He's 1 of 4 in the NFL to do that this season. Has a tackle for loss in 3 of his past 4 games at home. 5th straight season with 50+ tackles. He had 52, or he has 2 already in 2025. So nice for him. Let's take a look at the New Orleans Saints, who are trying to figure things out, but I'm not ready to say, hey, this is going to be a cakewalk. So Tyler Shuck made his first career start in week 9. He completed 15 passes, 176 yards, and a touchdown. Still working his way in, unfortunately, for Spencer Rattler, for those Gamecock fans that are tuned into this. Not looking like a big future for him in New Orleans, possibly just a backup quarterback. Alvin Kamara has 7,156 rushing yards and 4,912 career receiving yards. He can become the 6th player with 5,000 rushing and 5,000 receiving. He'd need a pretty big day receiving-wise to get to that number this week, so hopefully that doesn't happen. He's got 1,261 scrimmage yards in 13 career games versus Carolina, 839 rushing, 422 receiving, including 155 rushing, 60 receiving in the last meeting. But Carolina Panthers were victorious then. We hope that remains the same. He's 1 of 4 in the NFL with 7,000 rushing yards and 60+ rushing touchdowns since he was drafted in 2017. Alvin Kamara is really good back. There's always a lot of buzz about him potentially being traded, but he's hanging around. How about Chris Olave, who has 5 receptions for 57 yards last week, has 50+ receiving yards in the past 5 games, in past 5 games, and a receiving touchdown in 2 of his last 3 games on the road. 1 of 6. Well, this is definitely not right because they list the wrong division here, but 1 of 6 in the NFC with 5+ catches in 7+ games this season. He's aiming for his 250th career reception this week. He would need 4 receptions to get there. I think he probably has a decent chance to get that. Hopefully not. We shut him down. Tight end Jawan Johnson had 3 catches for 31 yards and his 20th career touchdown in week 9. Linebacker Demario Davis had a season-high 13 tackles last week. He's aiming for his 3rd game in a row with 10+ tackles. Him and Bobby Wagner are the only linebackers with 6+ games that have 10+ tackles. So good, a lot of production out of Demario Davis. He has 2 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery on the season. He ranks 3rd in NFL tackles since being drafted in 2012. Tackling machine, 1,461 career tackles. Chase Young had his 25th career sack last week. He's aiming for his 4th in a row with at least half a sack. Had a pass defended in 2 of the 3 past games. Jonah Williams had 2 tackles for loss and a sack last week. That's a defensive end. Safety Justin Reed had a career-high 13 tackles and a pass defended. He's aiming for his 3rd game in a row on the road with a pass defended. Cornerback Quincy Riley, who's a rookie, has a pass defended in 4 of his past 5 games. And if you wonder why I reference these as passes defended PDs, that's how it's listed. It's really, you think about pass deflection, but pass defended. Cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry has a career high 7 passes defended in 2025. And then cornerback Alante Taylor had 8 tackles and a tackle for loss last week against the Rams. And then Jonas Sanker, the safety rookie, had his 1st career pass defended last week. He has 5+ tackles in 6 of the games this season. He is 1 of 6 rookies: Demetrius Knight, Teddy Buchanan, Carson Swessinger, Malachi Starks, and Upton Stout to do so. All right, man. Got through quite a bit. Got you guys covered. And, it's fun because I mean, for those that follow along this show, I have talked about wanting to do the game notes from the NFL leading into the game. I didn't know how to bake that in. It's too, like you could see there, that's probably 10 minutes of a preview that I do. And so it doesn't make sense to bucket that in to what I already have. And I mean, we're talking about an hour-long preview at that point. So I'm going to try to start fitting these in to these sessions leading up to it. Got a little more time now that football's winding down for us in our house for Nolan. So anyways, that, folks, is going to do it for today's episode. As always, this is Carolina Dad. Y'all have